So they're updating their prevent list of potential extremism, terrorism warning signs. I'm sure most people have seen this because, my God, it's something that is really dystopian. Real George Formby 1974. But anyway, apparently socialism, anti-fascism are going to be a list of terrorism warning signs. Communism as well, also among the ideologies. As documented by human rights groups say the UK scheme has been politicised. Yeah, no fucking shit. Imagine an entire generation of people completely disabused from capitalism to the point because of failures of government, failures of state policy, failures of neoliberalism as a governing ideology. Young people so far away from that, they're all, becoming socialists and communists. And the only way we can get rid of this from society is by mandating it out of existence. You must believe in the single party ideology. You must believe that we are at war with Eurasia. That's why they've banned schools from teaching anti-capitalism. That's why they're coming down on universities for being so woke. They're really scared about this stuff. It all kind of folds into their Islamo-leftism conspiracy stuff about how the socialists and the anti-fascists and the communists are getting together with the Islamists to undermine the West. It's real, end of days style shit from this conservative government that's lost control of a country, that they have failed, essentially. But I look forward, everybody, to meeting you at the re-education camps. Because remember, this is what Rishi Sunak said during the leadership election about using prevent to get people who don't believe in British values, which are nebulous and ever-changing and mean different things to different people, but potentially getting people who don't believe in the same values as he do to re-education camps to make them believe in what the single party state wants them to believe, that is of course represented by the two different wings of the business party, red Tories and blue Tories. Labour will of course keep this as well because it's against the Labour rights interest for there to be more socialists and communists. For a democratic socialist party to believe that, no, that's quite frankly astounding, but this is the world that we live in nowadays in one-party Britain. But this is, again, it literally has been politicised, and the human rights groups are right to call it out, but it's really scary times. But I look forward to meeting you in the Prevent meetings chat, fellow communists. Look forward to seeing you there. The idea that some blue-haired, non-binary person who believes in anarcho-communism is going to be as much of a terror suspect as a Salafist or somebody from the far right, I just find it's very funny to me. And also, when was the last time you heard of any kind of foiled, anti-abortion, abortion centre, bomb plot outside of the US? When's that happened in the UK? I hate anti-abortionists with absolute passion, and I'm glad that France have been the second nation of all time to have constitutional right to abortion. The very first of those was the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, I'll have you know, based Tito with his constitutionally guaranteed right to abortion. So France just catching up on that one, 50 years too late. 60 years too late even, sorry. Even so, I don't think anti-abortion people are necessarily going to be likely terrorists. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the camp as well, Katie. Yeah, when they can't win the debate through policy or through rhetoric, they just have to ban being a socialist or an anti-fascist. That's not really what's happening, but whenever kids, for example, at school, are going to admit believing in things like anti-fascism, socialism, or communism, they'll get referred to Prevent for this stuff. This is really dystopian. The document is part of an online Prevent awareness training for those covered by the duty to inform if they suspect radicalisation. That includes teachers and youth workers looking out for communists and socialism amongst the kids. Again, they try to ban teaching socialism at school because of this. And this is the reason why it's included. They are absolutely obsessed with this idea, even though it's not true. And the Eric Kaufman study for policy exchange proves it's not true. They genuinely believe that young people in this country are being indoctrinated into socialism and communism and leftism, militant leftism, by teachers and academics and lecturers at university. It's why the Michelle Donnellan thing happened. I talked about this on stream with Novara yesterday. It's the reason why there's so much of this desire to paint university professors as being extreme lefty wokeists, like the new elite, as Matt Goodwin will call them, because they can't properly internalise or understand the idea that people are shaped by their material conditions. It's going back to what I call the centrist bell curve effect, where centrists and liberals, people who are ideologically liberal but don't believe that other ideologies are warranted, or that they aren't ideological but everybody else is, they fundamentally believe that all of society is a big bell curve with the moderates in the centre being the majority of people and the fringes at the side being tiny minorities. And if you genuinely believe that that's the natural way that society will form under your kind of liberal groupthink, if there's a certain section or demographic of society that doesn't fall within that bell curve with moderates in the middle as the majority and extremists on the side as minorities, the only way you can possibly conceptualise that under an idealist analysis rather than a material analysis, right? Under an idealist analysis, you literally can only conceptualise that as there being a fifth column indoctrinating people. People don't reach their ideologies because it's a product of their material conditions. They create an ideology because it's been taught to them by somebody, whereas an idea has been taught to them under an idealist philosophy, which is what liberalism is. Marxism is materialist, and that's why I would know I am one. So when this large group of young people who've seen capitalism fail before their very eyes twice they've seen capitalism fail. In 2008 and during the pandemic, they've seen capitalism just completely undermined, either by itself or by alternative modes of being able to run a country, and seeing their living standards being reduced, their futures taken away, climate change undermining the ability to even live on a functional planet. They've all been radicalized to the left, and that's a product of their material conditions. Like, why would you believe in capitalism if you can't get on the property ladder? It's an obvious response to material conditions, with the failure of neoliberalism to grant them the standard of living that their parents got, or the generations before that got, even post-war consensus period, where things were, a little bit more aspirational and hopeful for people then, even during what was ever going on during that period. Now, no aspiration, no hope, dead planet, reactionary sentiment brewing. Like, where is the hope? Where is the future that you can see under capitalism? Vast, huge amounts of inequality, corporations dominating our lives, people not being able to eat or feed their kids or afford to be able to live, having a roof over their head, sleeping on the street, whilst billionaire Jeff Bezos spends hundreds of millions of dollars blowing up huge amounts of rocket fuel to eat floaty Skittles for 10 minutes. Yeah, of course you'll be radicalized to the left, but you can't ever, under a liberal framework of viewing society, you cannot see the material conditions causing an ideological change. And so you have to go down this route of who's indoctrinating them. Well, who do they think is indoctrinating them? People who teach them. Because teachers are generally more left-wing. I think that's true. When you've actually studied it, and there's been a study done by Policy Exchange to try and find out if people were being indoctrinated, and they find out they weren't. Like, they found out that kids were not being indoctrinated by teachers. They actually found out mostly where people found out about socialism and communism was they found out about it on the internet, on social media, from their peer groups, from their parents. Kids are not finding out about left-wing politics from their teachers. They're finding it out from peers because they're all going through the same level of radicalization at the same time, because they're all subject to the same material conditions. Unless you do a material analysis of the position that they're in, you cannot understand why young people are left-wing. And because they can't change the material conditions, they have to mandate the ideology out of existence. That's what Prevent is. That's what trying to attack people for being militant leftists. Michelle Donlan had a whole dossier about these university professors being militant leftists. What was their justification for this dossier? Saying that it was terrible for government cracking down on people being pro-Palestine, tweeting out trans is beautiful hashtag, and saying that they support strikers. This was their idea of militant leftism that they think is poisoning the minds of children, when this is just a natural response to material conditions. And we know that it's not being done as their first point of reference to what Eric Kaufman in his Policy Exchange report called cultural socialism. It's all material. Why do you think all the kids are learning about it at the same time from each other? It's the only possible explanation for this. But they have to come down and try and mandate it out of existence, because otherwise they'll lose. Only those insulated from the burden don't see the writing on the wall. And this is why young people, when they see the failure of capitalism, have turned towards alternative forms of governance. Yet the middle class people who were beneficiaries of capitalism for 4 decades of their life, 4 or 5 decades of their life, and now see their assets being eaten away by corporations in their middle class years. The corporations spent all the austerity period eating up the assets of working class people. They weren't affected, they didn't care. They were still winning from capitalism. Fast forward to the last 5 years, where all of the working class assets have been eaten up, and the corporations are coming after middle class people's assets. Suddenly the capitalism that they know and love is being dismantled. But they're already fully sold on capitalism as an ideology. So their only frame of reference to this is, well, there must be a fifth column. There must be somebody undermining the capitalism I know and love. Hence you create a legion of conspiracy theorists. It's not that corporations are just naturally taking what they believe to be the most self-interested form of rational action within a market economy to be able to increase their wealth under the profit motive. They see corporations trying to control your lives because they're under the control of the secret one-party World Economic Forum communist state, which isn't, of course, it's just capitalists engaging in rational self-interest under a system that's failed to regulate them, that's failed to bring their power under control, failed to tax them, and allow them to become supranational entities that can control your government. And that's just material interest under neoliberalism with no regulation. But they can't understand that that's just how capitalism works. So they have to think that, well, somebody must be undermining it. The World Economic Forum must be controlling things because they're evil, dictators or whatever, and they're just capitalists looking after the interests of capitalists. That's it. That's the difference between middle class people and young people in why they've come to the positions that they're in. A single policy of being anti-fascist. I wonder who might want to police the idea of anti-fascism. I wonder what kind of government would want to police the idea of anti-fascism. I'll let that sit with you, chat. I'll let that sit with you. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.